Alright, now we're ready to reassemble everything. Start with a clean knuckle. And you can see where the, I don't know, I call them knuckle bearing, right? I think the trunnion or something like that, bearings. Pop the races out of there. One on the bottom, one on the top. And the axle seal goes in here. And those come in our kit. You've got your two bearings and new races right here. And your axle seal. Now we'll go in here with a little help from this guy and a hammer. I've got everything reassembled on the knuckle / hub. I'm looking at new rotor, all new gaskets, bearings, seals. So in replacing the soft brake line, I broke one of the hard brake lines, and as you can see, this fitting's all stripped out. I kind of anticipated this, so anyways, I got a new section of line with fittings. This is actually a special fitting that goes in this little joiner over here. Can't really see it very well. Anyways, it goes in here. It's extra long. So I'll be reusing that. Basically what I'm gonna have to do is cut this little flare off, take these fittings off, rebend this hard line to match the original shape, and then I'll use one of these fittings with one of these, or this, because without, if you go with a short fitting, it's going to be way harder to remove it the next time, which hopefully will never come, but make it easier for the next guy, I guess. Put some positive Land Cruiser karma out there in the world. Anyways, you'll notice the calipers are missing. I'm waiting on those. Should be here any day now, but yeah, that's kind of a bummer. I thought they'd be here by now, but oh well. Alright, so previously I repainted a used mirror setup that I got on I Hate Mud, and it sucks. So it was kind of a freebie. I bought some headlights, and the seller generously threw the mirror in. It was better than what I had, but still, let me show you here. This is not good. It's not what you want in a side view mirror. I mean, it's adjustable, which is nice, but it's not good. So basically, I got a in the name of the budget FJ80, I got a cheap eBay unit, which is actually in pretty decent repair. I noticed the OEM ones, this little hole in the bottom here, that usually you would put a screwdriver in there and unscrew the mirror part if you wanted to, say, paint it the factory color, but this one, I don't know if you can see that, but there is nothing in there. So what we're gonna have to do is tape off the mirror to paint it, or just leave it black and roll like that. I don't know, but I'm excited to install this and see if it works, because driving a car with no driver's side mirror is kind of a pain, and this should be a huge upgrade. In other news, before the camera died, started bending this kind of universal section of brake line that you can buy at whatever auto store, but basically trying to mimic the original geometry, which would be something like this. You'll notice it's not perfect, but basically I will install it. What I'm going to do is cut this like right around here, throw this fitting on there, install it, and do the final bends and stuff. Hard brake lines are kind of intimidating, I guess, but it's a pretty cheap tool that you need to do the right crimps for these little flare fittings right here. And it's not that difficult. Once you do it once, you kind of realize it's pretty doable. I did this all with hands, no special tools required. I do have a brake line bender, but it wasn't really necessary with this type of stuff. Pretty easy stuff. And we're gonna have a fresh line with new fittings. Good peace of mind there. I don't like to mess around when it comes to brakes. They're really important. So might as well just replace it, do it as best you can. And let me show you the cutter tool that you use to cut the brake lines. It's really simple. It's just like a little C-clamp, and it's got this little spinny wheel in here that cuts into the super soft metal that brake lines are made out of. And so you just put it wherever you want the cut to take place. Let's give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room. I find that sometimes the first attempt at doing the crimping for the fitting doesn't really go that well. So, I mean, you can see I'm doing it with one hand over here. Pretty simple. You snug it up, and then you just rotate it around. You can see there it's scoring, and it came out of the gauge. So you rotate it a couple times, and then you slowly tighten it as you go. And each time you tighten it, it cuts a little bit deeper. Tighten it again. And now you're in the groove. You don't really have to worry about it popping out anymore. Now, the cool thing about this is that you can get these brake lines sections at pretty much any auto parts store. So, you know, a lot of times when you're doing a brake job like this, these old rusty vehicles, you run into, oh whoops, I broke that, I didn't plan it out, didn't order the right parts, so let me run down to the store and get some of the stuff that'll work. That's exactly what I did. Except I already had this sitting around from some previous thing. But, you know, you can run down and pick this up for relatively inexpensive. And it just makes a huge difference when you're coming through the next time trying to bleed your brakes or something, or replace a line, whatever the case is. You can see it's getting pretty loose. And there we have it. One cut brake line. So what I'll do next is go in and deburr this so you can see the opening's a little clogged up. You want to get all those little burrs and stuff that are in there. You can do that with, they do make special tools for it. I don't have one, so I usually end up using just something sharp and pointy. And then we'll start flaring it. Okay, we're back. So as you can see, I deburred the hole. And what you're looking to do here, I use my trusty mutilated screwdriver here, and I just put it in there and rotated it until it got rid of all the little pieces and stuff. And then that brings me to the flaring kit. So I got this on Summit Racing, very inexpensive. It's got all these different sizes. It's a two-stage thing. So the first thing that you do is you find the appropriately sized little thing here, and if you look on the inside of this, it's got a little tapered edge. So you basically ram this into it, and it tapers. It kind of like bulges out the pipe. And then once you do that, you come back in with this. When you tighten this down, it really sets that that shape in there that you need to seal. So let's get started. So See if I can get a good angle on this. All right, here we go. So this is adjustable. Very important. Oops. Okay, very important step. It's much like doing wiring. You always want to put the weather stripping, or I'm sorry, the heat shrink on before you do the soldering. We're gonna insert this fitting in the proper orientation before we do the flaring, otherwise we will be cutting again. I've done that many times. Find the appropriately sized slot. You want this to not stick up that much. So a trick I learned from probably watching YouTube is that you want it to stick out the thickness of the flaring piece that you're going to use. So what you do, you want these two to be even. So that looks about right, and we'll see what we get. All right, so we've got our fittings on. This is the FJ80 parts graveyard. You can see in the back. We're going to talk about those bearings here in a little bit. Trunnion bearings, that's what they're called, in case you were wondering. All right, here we go. Okay, so this is what you want. Very hard to see. This needs to stick up about the same height as this. And for the first step, put that in there. And you can see the top of this little fitting has a little tapered spot for our clamp to go into. So when you get your clamp set up, which is very tight, all right, I wanted to show the reason that I always do a knuckle rebuild when I buy an old crappy Land Cruiser. So these are the trunnion bearings. They are what your steering pivots on. There's 2 in each hub, and the new rebuild kit came with new ones. But if you take a look at this, this is exactly what you don't want to see. Now, granted, these don't rotate a whole lot, but this is totally toast. So I mean, a lot of people call it baselining, whatever. This is just one of the things I always do, at least if nothing else, to inspect the bearings and replace them as needed. But on this one, I just went with the whole kit, and turns out it was worthwhile because this could be potential disaster. But yeah, when it comes to steering and brakes, you always want to go on the safe side. So who knows if this would have been a problem, could have lasted forever, but that's peace of mind right there. The other ones don't look too bad. They're okay. And you can't even feel it. I mean, you couldn't really tell anything was wrong with the steering. It felt okay. Didn't have any hiccups, but yeah, this is what you don't want to see. This is catastrophic bearing failure, potentially.